Next video, from $10 billion to nothing. How Wish.com lost everything. Is Wish still a company? Like, this is like a, what is it? It's like a Temu. It was like Temu before Temu, wasn't it? I remember seeing ads for this fucking everywhere, and it just looked like the most rip-off, like, bullshit. I think people I know bought a lot of chargers from there, like iPhone chargers that would break in like a month.
In the 2010s, Wish
What
ads
happened to
were
Wish?
everywhere. Ads for the strangest and cheapest items were on every social media.
Facts.
They were inescapable. A cat face mask, a chicken helmet, a $10
That's kinda
drone,
cute,
and
though.
stuff that's much stranger. Weird Wish ads became its own
Cold
subgenre
Ones,
on
shout out.
YouTube. Yet, the story behind the company might be even stranger. Billions in revenue, Facebook investments, even a secret meeting with Jeff Bezos. It seemed Wish would be the next big thing. But their share price has crashed 99% and has stayed there for years.
They have
So,
died, bro.
what happened to Wish?
Let me check. Can you still... What happens? Is it still a site? Oh, yeah. Oh my god, this is horrible. Yeah, it's still selling the same shit. Absolutely horrendous. What the fuck? Propane tank gorge. Maybe they just got beaten out by Temu and stuff like that. I don't know. Growth over everything.
Wish was a very strange platform. It was described as the dollar store of the internet, but it's more complicated than that. The company's actual name is Context Logic and was founded as far back as 2010. It was started by a former software engineer at Google, Peter Sholzewski, who helped build algorithms for Google Ads. You see, the original idea and why Sholzewski got millions in VC funding was the technology. After leaving Google, he spent 6 months coding software that can predict someone's interests based on browsing behavior and then match a potential product. Keep in mind, this was in 2010 and this technology wasn't nearly as prevalent as it is today. After raising $1.7 million in funding, Jolzewski was offered $20 million
Decent
from
chunk of
Facebook
change.
to integrate the algorithm into their own ad system, but he turned it down. Investors were furious,
What
with
an
some of
idiot.
them even storming into Jolzewski's office and shouting at him. But he had bigger plans. He pivoted his company to Wish.
That must have been a fucking massive L. Cause like nowadays, everyone knows Facebook's algorithm is crazy goated. Like, it is the most hyper specific ads to like you can do. If you want to put an ad on Facebook, you can do the age range, what type of person you want to like advertise to, and like super detailed. So he didn't sell the algorithm to them for 20 million, but they still managed to make one that's probably even better. So he could have just got free cash basically, because they got there anyway. You could have just got paid for it. What an idiot.
Wall.me, and it wasn't even an e-commerce site, just a wish list, which promised rewards, free items, and discounts. Users would just browse curated products you couldn't even buy and wishlist items. It was essentially the Instagram of window shopping. People just
That
like
sounds
scrolling, and
useless.
somehow Wishwall got a lot of users. Jolzewski realized he was onto something, so he began cold emailing dozens of merchants, offering them a massive pool of buyers if they could cut the price by 10 to 20%. The most shocking part is that Wish wouldn't take a commission, and to his surprise, many suppliers agreed. Wish quickly became one of the biggest marketplaces on Earth, but
If they didn't make a commission, how did they make any money?
was essentially
Was it
a
ads?
glorified middleman. The products came from low-cost manufacturers in China, and Wish handled none of the inventory or fulfillment. But still, why not take a cut? They were introducing millions of customers to these products after all. Well, Wish was on the typical tech startup roadmap: get as many customers as possible, chase growth, and figure out profits later. Many do this to position themselves for an acquisition, so they
fair.
can grow a company, spend a lot of investor funding, and they all get a big payout. But not Wish. which gives us one of the most baffling decisions from Shulzevsky. Wish was growing fast, and in 2016, he was invited to a secret meeting with Jeff Bezos at the Amazon headquarters. We don't know
That's what you
exactly
want
what
to happen.
happened because he had to sign an NDA and there were plenty of lawyers present, which paints a pretty clear intention, an acquisition. Shulzevsky said that there was an agenda to the meeting. With Wish's amazing technology, they wanted in. It was rumored the offer was $10 billion.
I was thinking like, damn, this dude's about to get paid. He's probably gonna get like 100 million or something. 10 billion.
For added context,
did he say
Bezos
no?
was Shulzevsky's idol. This was
It
the
sounds like he
perfect
said no.
opportunity. But despite all that, something unexpected happened. Shulzevsky turned down the offer.
What?
He told Bezos he had no intention of selling Wish.
What the
But
fuck
Amazon
is this
wasn't
guy
the only
doing?
one ready to buy. The Chinese giant Alibaba was
Alibaba.
also interested and offered the same price, $10 billion. To make things even more interesting, Wish was only valued by investors at $3 billion. So these were definitely good offers. So why turn it down?
What is he doing?
Well, sometimes founders have a grander vision and think they can grow beyond the offer. Snapchat was offered $3 billion by Facebook, and while they didn't grow as big, they have grown much bigger with a market cap of $15 billion and are now profitable. So what about Wish? Well, according to an insider, Shulzevsky thought he could grow his startup to at least $100 billion in gross sales, or 1/4 the revenue of Walmart. If he could, Wish would be
Damn.
worth much more than $10 billion. Very ambitious, and to his credit, things began to take off very soon. Wish's revenue grew and grew. In 2018, it
How do
doubled
they
to
make money, though, if they're
$1.9
not
billion,
taking a
putting its
cut?
valuation
I'm
at
so confused.
$8.7 billion, and it was the most downloaded shopping app worldwide. Their user count was going up, and that year they passed 400 million users and became the third biggest e-commerce marketplace in the US by sales. In fact, every year they were adding 100 million
That's
users.
so shit.
In
Oh my
2019,
God.
Shulzevsky said to investors that they should expect an IPO in the next 1 to 2 years, and sure enough, the momentum continued. Wish raised another $1.1 billion in their IPO, pushing their total value to $14.1 billion. Wish was riding high, but pretty soon that was about to change.
What happened? The ad trap.
Just like Wish gamed the ad system to flood your feed with junk, the news you see every day is shaped by similar algorithms designed for
I would watch his ad, but we did watch a video
engagement,
about
not
this.
truth. That's why I used today's sponsor,
Ground news, not
Center
good.
and Right, and even basic profits. The same story as the company 41%. That's why ads are spit 2020 algorithms feed are important. Head to Grounded Access Vantage Plan for worldwide coverage for supporting our videos. This is a good time to talk about those strange Wish ads. 3-day 6-pack cream, a
Oh, I
cat
remember
mask,
that.
a USB-powered pregnancy test. Ads
Yeah.
for the weirdest products
Crack
were
vibes.
everywhere. So,
I remember
why?
seeing that shit pop
This
up.
is what Wish was good at. The algorithms could match
Wish was
products to
selling
users
crack
based on
pipes
their
and
browsing
shit.
behavior.
Oh my god.
But
I'd get
here's where
ads for
things
it on
got
my
a little
Facebook.
weird.
Like,
Browsing
what the
behavior
fuck?
can mean a lot of things. So, strange ads that you can't help but stop and look at or even click, which tells the algorithm those were succeeding ads, pushed them even further. Wish's ad campaigns were optimized to drive traffic and clicks,
What the
not
fuck?
necessarily conversions. So, why were these ads everywhere? Wish was spending big money on digital ads. In
What
fact,
the hell
they
was
were
that?
the largest ad spender on Facebook and Instagram,
Fuck.
and one of the biggest on Google. Wish was growing very fast, but there was a big problem underpinning all of this growth. Wish wasn't profitable. You might think, sure, they were chasing growth, but there's unprofitable and then there's Wish. Their profit margins were negative 100%. Negative
That's
100.
bad,
For every
bro.
$1 they earned, they spent 2.
Jesus.
So the more their revenue
they
went
probably
up,
should have taken
the
a
further
cut.
down
Fucking
their
idiots.
earnings went.
Like,
Sure, they had billions in funding, but pretty soon they needed to figure out how to make a return. But time was about to run out with what came next.
we have a new name for the coronavirus. The World Health Organization has
COVID kill
officially called
Wish?
it COVID-19.
While
Bruh.
everyone was stuck inside it, retail and physical businesses were dying, but online shopping exploded. But isn't that good for Wish?
Did they get more
Well,
competition?
Not exactly. You see, digital ad spend quickly went up. More and more
It's more
companies began
expensive to
pouring
make
money
ads.
into online advertising, as this was the only way to advertise to new customers.
Shit.
Competitors were pouring into Wish's marketing strategy, or rather, their only strategy. On Google Ads and Facebook ads, when more companies are bidding for keywords, the price of that keyword goes up. Now, imagine
Damn.
that on a global scale. Wish's unique and frankly only strategy was falling apart. They were already unprofitable when ad spend was good.
COVID
Now
killed
the
Wish.
return on ad spend was even
That's
worse,
crazy.
meaning it was the perfect storm. In 2020, Wish reached a revenue peak of $2.5 billion, but that marked their biggest loss, over $600 million. Then, for the very first time, Wish's sales began to drop.
He could have
By
sold it for
500 million
10
in
billion,
2021,
man.
then by another 1.5 billion in 2022. It's very funny
What do you reckon
if
happens
compare
if
their
COVID
revenue
didn't
and
happen, though?
profit, because if they're negative margins,
it would still be a thing?
it looks as though Wish makes more money the less revenue they make. But to make matters worse, there was another problem. People weren't loyal to Wish. They were loyal to the deals and absurd prices. It's hard to build loyalty on price compared to, say, a unique experience like Amazon's incredible fulfillment and fast delivery. Customers will just
Yeah,
leave when
Temu.
they find
That's what I was
something
saying
cheaper
before.
like Temu, and if they don't, they will because of the horrendous customer experience. When I said they prioritize growth over everything, I mean everything. It probably won't surprise you to hear that Wish was full of scams. Smart TVs for $1, gaming computers for $1.30. Scam stores were rampant on
How are
Wish.
you even able to?
One person who ordered a $70
What shows up
tablet
if you get a
received a
$1
small
computer?
stand and a note in broken English saying it was coming. Of course, it never did.
Oh,
Many of these scams
That's what
sold
you
real
get.
products, brought in a lot of 5-star reviews, then swapped out the same product for a terrible cheap replica
that's
in
rough.
order to scam customers and to make
that's
a return.
gotta be racist.
But this is where things take a darker turn. One of them was called a Best Deal 9, which was created by Wish themselves. They had created this fake store to track whether customers would complain if their orders never arrived. Employees working on the project pushed executives to remove the store, calling it unethical and illegal. But it remained active for months, and over 213,000 people made purchases from the store. And that's just one tiny example.
That's
To
fucked.
make matters worse, unlike Amazon, Wish had virtually zero customer support. So if you got scammed, you needed to wait over 3 months before you could even appeal for a refund. This might be expected from some shady marketplace, but Wish was a multi-billion-dollar company, yet they had zero concern for customers. These scam stores were everywhere, and after a while, people were simply done shopping on Wish.
Oh, 10
Wish
billion to
began to
100
finally
million.
introduce some accountability.
That's
In
fucked.
2022, the company said it had started a fresh organizational chapter. Some new executives had just joined from Google and Shutterfly and began to make some changes. An app redesign was underway and they tried to improve the response time of customer service, but it was too little, too late. People had moved on, the brand was already tarnished, and many customers had moved elsewhere. In September 2022, a competitor would appear in Wish's territory, Temu. They were a new company, but by no means a small player. They were backed by the Chinese giant Pinduoduo, which had a market cap of $170 billion. Temu had much more money, basically infinite, and just 5 months after launching, Temu ran 2 ads during the 2023 Super Bowl. This made Temu the youngest brand to ever run a Super Bowl ad. It was Wish, but better, more legit, more resources, and direct from suppliers.
Yeah, just got
Wish,
outplayed.
on the other hand, had been losing money for over
Absolutely
a decade
outplayed.
and were beginning to run out.
Hey, rip to a whip,
Hundreds
real
of
one.
employees
Whip to
were
a real
being
one.
laid off, and revenue
What do
was in
we-
freefall.
what do we wish?
And their share price would fall
What the
over
heck?
99%.
That's
Their monthly
rough.
active users fell from over 100 million in 2020 to just 12 million. That year, they only saw
Bro,
5
could have had
million new
$10
signups
billion.
compared to the annual 100 million from a few years ago.
That's
Around this
fucked.
time, Josefsky stepped down as CEO as investors were getting tired, and soon came the inevitable. In early 2024, Context Logic sold Wish for $173 million to the Southeast Asian e-commerce company Q10. Pitiful compared to their original $10 billion offer, but it was the right time to sell, or rather, their last chance to sell. The acquisition was at $6.50 per share, a 44% premium, which in their circumstance was actually pretty good. With Temu growing, the buyout offers would only get worse and worse. I should also note, Q10 themselves would end up going bankrupt by the end of 2024.
Oh shit. What happened to
I'm
Wish?
sure Zolzewski wished he took the $10 billion from Bezos or
He
Alibaba.
wished.
Wish hadn't scaled
Good
for
one.
sustainable or long-term success. Just growth by any means necessary, growth without loyalty or profits. But I will note, it was just Wish that was sold, not Context Logic. Context Logic was still independent, so what happened to them? Well, Wish was a money sink, and when it went, so did many of their liabilities. Context Logic is now a very different company, much smaller and no longer an e-commerce company at all. In Q1 of 2025, Context Logic reported a net loss of $4 million. Not good, but much better than the $59 million they lost the same time last year. It seems they're still trying to figure out what to do. They have $2.7 billion of net operating loss carryforwards, which means they don't need to pay taxes on future profits for a long time. That
Yeah,
is,
they're
if
just
they
gonna make
even
money.
make money again. The board said they were looking for a financial sponsor to help the company realize the value of its tax assets, and if they can't, return all capital to shareholders. If I were to make a bet, it would be on the latter. Josefsky now owns a new venture called Maggie Inc., but it seems he's staying away from the public eye and e-commerce
Oh,
altogether.
of course, he just fucking
Since
went to AI.
2017, we've published over 1,050 videos.
Damn, so COVID killed Wish, and then Temu just replaced it, which is just a slightly better Wish, so fair trade if you ask me. Wish was never a fucking good thing to have in society. Just shit, cheap trash. Type of shit you'd wear for a day or two and then it would go straight to a landfill, poison the earth and kill everyone. It's good that it's dead. I'm glad that it's dead. Let's keep it dead. Sadly, we still got Temu, still got all the bullshit. Yeah, pretty good video. I enjoyed it.